Kia ora koutou. This is Erina Morunga and I'm a migration agent and I run Morunga Migration. Now I've come to you tonight because I'm going to talk a little bit about citizenship from birth. One of the questions I get asked a lot is my child a citizen? Or my child was born here, or I was born here, am I a citizen? There's been some confusion, especially in the last few years. We've seen some of our people that were born here in Australia get deported. And that's because of all of the historical changes in citizenship law. So before I start, I've made up a few different cards to try and help give you ideas about dates, because there's probably 4 main periods that you need to know. And once you understand those periods, hopefully you'll be able to line it up and work out whether your children are citizens or not. One of the things you can tell if someone is a citizen is that only Australian citizens can hold an Australian passport, for example. So if your child's holding an Australian passport, then definitely they're a citizen. The other really important evidence to have is an Australian Citizenship Certificate, and that's a very important document to hold. So for anyone that gets citizenship, or if your child is able to obtain citizenship, it's really important to have that citizenship certificate and keep a copy safe, because it comes up a lot for people. Really important document. Citizenship certificates aren't easy to come by. We've even had cases over the years where people were born citizens, but for whatever reason couldn't get a hold of the evidence. It's not something that you can just apply for easily with the Australian Citizenship Department. The citizenship certificates are not kind of given out easily, so really important to look after that document. Okay, where do I start? Nothing's ever easy when I try to explain any of this immigration stuff. Citizenship is a bit different to normal migration law. It's its own separate law again. And with migration law, under the law, only migration agents, registered migration agents like myself, are able to give migration advice and assistance with applications, etc. But with citizenship law, anyone can actually provide assistance. It's not something that is restricted by law. So if you're able to do your own citizenship applications, or you've done them in the past, you can quite freely help other people and you're not breaking the law. Just thought I'd throw that one in there while I was thinking about it. So my key audience really is fellow New Zealand citizens, because of all of the mix-ups and misunderstandings and falling through the cracks of legislation. I'm trying to create these videos to provide better education and support. So I'll start with the basics. So starting out, all New Zealand citizens are either on a special category visa if they haven't applied for either citizenship or a permanent visa. So we're automatically on this. The other unusual visa status that we might be is if we've got anyone who hasn't left the country for a long time, since the early 80s actually. There's another visa class called absorbed person visa, but I'm not talking about that one today. But generally speaking, if you've left the country after 94, if you were living here before the 1st of September, you go out of the country, you come in, you are automatically placed onto the special category visa. Now I'll go back to my analogy of the driver's license. So a special category visa is equivalent to an L plate, although in some circumstances it might be equivalent to a P plate. So the P plate is like a permanent resident status. L plate is a temporary visa status. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back and watch some of my earlier videos where I go into more detail about that. So special category visa holders is the main reason why I'm making this video. Okay, so under the P plate title or the full license, these two, if you are either of these before you have children, then your children are granted citizenship at birth. So, how do I explain that? So the P-platers and the full licensed people are people who fall into these three categories. So either an Australian citizen already, a permanent resident, an eligible New Zealand citizen, also known as a protected SCV holder. So if you're any of these before you have children, then, and they're born in Australia, they are automatically a citizen at birth. If you are an Australian citizen, only an Australian citizen, and you give birth to your children outside of Australia, then your child will have an opportunity to apply for citizenship by descent. But that's kind of going off the track a little bit, but just let you know that one. Okay, now going back to dates. I'll go right back to the beginning. Oh, found it in an interesting fact that I thought Winston Peters might like to know too. So in Australian history, we have, what it is. So the 26th of January 1949 is a significant date in Australian citizenship history. That's when Australian citizenship was first brought into play. So that's when, prior to that, everyone was a British subject, unless they were Tangata Whenua, of course, but yeah, everyone else, they were British subjects. And that's if they were living here. But the interesting thing I found out was that New Zealand actually bought a New Zealand citizenship on the 1st of January 1949, 25 days before. So it looks like we beat them on that one too. Anyway, so the other date I want to show you is this. So anyone who was born from the 26th of January, so on the 26th of January 1949, all the way through to the 19th of August 1986. So these two particular dates, anyone that was born in Australia to a permanent resident, Australian citizen, they are born Australian citizens. So if you had a child born prior to 1986, then they are a citizen. Okay, if you're a New Zealand citizen, because at that time you had permanent resident status, we didn't have this temporary visa status. Okay, hopefully I made sense there. So 1986, at that time we were exempt non-citizens, we weren't special category visa holders. The special category visa holder hadn't been invented at that point. So that's why kids born to New Zealand citizens up to the 19th of August 1986, they are Australian citizens at birth. Now, however, if you're born from the 20th of August 1986 onwards, have I got that one here? Okay, favorite one. So for those that are born, I'll just try and straighten this up. Okay, if you're born from the 20th of August 1986 through to the 31st of August 1994, you're not an Australian citizen at birth. Okay, so these two dates are quite important. This is when New Zealanders were known as exempt non-citizens, and yeah, our children weren't citizens at birth. I'll talk a bit more about that later as they get older, but yeah, that's a not born as citizen stage. So you had your ones between the 26th of January 49 and 19th of August 86, they are citizens, and then between that. The ironic thing I always found a bit funny is the next date. So the next date here, so from the 1st of September 1994, that was when the SCV was introduced. And remember, the SCV is a temporary visa. It lets us live and work in Australia for an indefinite period, really, unless we get our visa cancelled. We don't want to get our visa cancelled, or we change to another status. So from the 1st of September 1994, when special category visa came in, up to the 26th of February 2001, so that's when that major law change came in, thanks to lovely John Howard and his crew. That's that period, children born here, they are citizens. So go figure, you become this temporary visa holder, but your child's a citizen. However, you do fall into a slightly different category at that time. So that's that one. And the last one, so the last one is for today's period. So from the 26th of, I'll change the date on this. What I might do is I'll just go back and explain it from here. So basically after the 26th of February 2001, it gets a bit murky. I wasn't really going to touch on this sign because it goes into another whole different ball game. Anyway, there's another area that's a bit complicated. I won't explain it. But anyone born after the 26th of February aren't a citizen generally. Sometimes they might be, but that's the complicated bit I'm talking about. I'm not going to explain it here. That's generally they're not citizens. So, however, I think most people know, I was reading some of the comments today, really good. Lots of people in the comments seem to know how it worked, which is good. If you have a child that's born in Australia and they're not a citizen, the way that they become a citizen is on their 10th birthday, they can become citizens. So it's an automatic thing by law. So you don't apply for citizenship. What happens is that it's called an automatic operation by law. So, however, there's some key things that you need to do first. Your child has to have lived in Australia for most of their life. This can be a bit of a tricky area, a good area to probably get some advice on, especially if you've been in and out of the country. Pays to get some advice if you're not sure. Need to apply for a CC. That's a citizenship certificate. So even though your child might be a citizen, or they will be a citizen, you won't actually get evidence of that, and it won't be recognised unless you apply for citizenship certificate, generally speaking. Once you get that citizenship certificate, that's it. That should save all arguments about whether your child is a citizen. So when you go and apply for an Australian passport and things like that, you won't have any trouble. You need that citizenship certificate. And of course, in the process to getting that certificate, you need to be able to provide evidence. And I've often told people over the years, things like, so if you have a child born here, just make sure you keep things like their school records, school photos, immunisation records, even a record of where your addresses have been in the first 10 years of their life, anything like that. I would recommend keeping a folder or a shoebox or something. Just keep putting stuff in there so that when it comes to the time of applying, you've got ample evidence to show that your child's been living here for the first 10 years of their life. If they've been in and out, it'll get tricky, but definitely have been here that whole time. I've put a link in this post. It costs $190 to apply for a citizenship certificate to the department. I've put the link for the form that you need to complete. If you want me to help you with it, there's my link there, my email, my phone number. I can help you with that, and I've put my fee in there too. So if you have any questions, let me know, but good luck with that, and I hope I didn't ramble too much. But there's always, it's never a short story with this stuff, so I hope you got something out of it anyway. Okay, kia ora.